There you go. Now I have you. If I
There
could
you
get
go.
rid of this.
Me. No, no. You don't want to get rid of
Yeah,
me
well,
yet.
let's see here. Nope. Oh, man. Ah, success.
I don't even know what you got rid of, but you got rid of it. So,
Yeah.
it's fine.
It's one of those menus that you hit the button, the little three little dots, and
Oh,
then
yeah, yeah.
boom, man, it took over the whole screen.
And you can't
So,
see anything.
yeah,
So you spend the whole podcast like this, looking around the
that's
menu.
exactly.
I wasn't sure what time you were going to show up because we changed our clocks here. And I remember
Did you really?
a
I thought
few,
about that.
a
Yeah.
few years ago, I remember sitting waiting for Anthony Alex to show up. And I'm like, where is he? And then I thought, I gave up after like half an hour. And then he showed up. I was like,
Right.
where are you? Because I changed my clocks. He hadn't changed his. So I didn't know whether you
Right.
did yours or not.
Ours
So
is this weekend. So, and I remember there was another time you and I were podcasting, and I can't remember if it was we changed the daylight savings times first or whatever, man. But something, something caused it to be 6 hours apart instead of five, or was it four? I don't know, man. It's hard to keep up.
So I didn't know whether I was going to be podcasting at 8 o'clock my time, 9 o'clock my time, or 10 o'clock
Right.
my time. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to sit upstairs and just, just wait for you to show up. But you're here at 8 o'clock UK time, so that's better for me.
I got you, man.
So how are you? How have you been? What's that book? What's that book? Oh, it's the Arnold Schwarzenegger one.
Yeah, man. It's very
Wow.
good. I'm trying to read more like paper books
Yeah.
and not read so many digitally. I mean, like the Kindle's awesome. I can go on a vacation, I take my library with me, but I'm trying to read more paper books. And I I miss when I'm reading digital books. I miss that chapter marker because that's always encouraging me to
Yeah.
go to the next to finish the chapter that I'm on. So that's what I've been sticking with.
But whenever Annette's reading books, she reminds me of Bastian in the Never-Ending Story. Do you know when he's eating a sandwich and he's like, "No,
Mm.
not too much. Must save some." She has this routine where she reads a chapter of this. She's got like 4 books on the go. I
Oh
can't.
wow, man.
I can't have 4 books on the go. It would be my life's not that long that it would. No, I read one.
Yeah.
I'll show you what I'm reading. You will love it. What was a second? So for people on the audio, they'll be like, "Why was there a pause?" I'll edit that. I'll edit that silence part out. I'm
Oh, okay. I
reading
was gonna
this
say,
one.
man, I should have been singing. Oh, look at that, man. We're both on a Schwarzenegger kick. How is the
Yep,
book?
it's really good.
Yeah.
It's really, really good. It's obviously going through all the 80s action heroes, their
Yeah.
backstories, but it tells you the really sort of funny stories that you weren't quite aware of. And as I'm
Right.
sure you can imagine, when it gets to Steven Seagal, oh, oh, it's amazing. So I would highly recommend picking that book up.
Cool. Yeah,
It's
I
very,
noticed. I
very good.
think that was one of those listed in the front of the Schwarzenegger book.
Yeah.
Somewhere along the way, man. There was a long list of stuff. So, have you seen Fubar Netflix?
I have not. I just realized I didn't read the name of the book out. So people, I'm conscious that it's like I want to try and do these conversations as video and also audio. So I have to
Gotcha.
keep.
Well,
So it's the
I'll
Last
start off.
Action,
Oh,
Last
good.
Action Heroes by Nick DeSemblian is the one that I'm talking about, and the
Right.
one that you're talking about, John.
I am reading Be Useful, Seven Tools for Life by Arnold Schwarzenegger, which you know, the other morning I decided I was, because when you're reading an Arnold Schwarzenegger book, you hear it in his voice, his
You do.
accent.
Yep.
And so I decided I was going to read it like I was doing the audio version of like the audiobook.
Yep.
And that lasted about half a chapter. And then I decided, okay, I don't want to wear out the pipes. And then it was back to Schwarzenegger's voice in my head. So,
But you're a voice actor, so I reckon you could pull that off.
maybe.
Yeah.
I would feel
Get
it's
to the
almost
chapter.
right.
Yep.
That was the one thing I missed in maybe I shouldn't give it away, but he never says that line in Fubar. I mean, like,
Really.
and they went to the helicopter multiple times. So I guess he was just like, nah, you've
Teasing.
heard me say that enough. Yeah, yeah.
He was expecting everybody to go on. Now he can. Now he's going to say, and nope, he didn't. So
That was me, man. I was just like, no, it didn't happen. It was like, get to the helicopter, and yeah.
I'll return in a minute. Yep,
That's
that's the other one.
right. That's it. Yep.
Yep.
Yep. It was
So you
just
would
like,
you
nah, all
recommend
those
Fubar?
tropes.
Would
Yeah,
you?
it was hilarious. Yeah, Michelle and I both enjoyed it. Both of us grew up on 80s action. So it
Mm,
was, anything that has, well, I take this back. Anything that has Schwarzenegger in it, it's usually good. Anything that has Stallone in it, with the exception of Expendables 4, can be pretty good. But Expendables 4, man, I did not like it. Did you see it?
No,
It's okay, man. You didn't miss
I
anything.
no, I love 80s action heroes, and
Yeah.
that's why I just went out and I picked that book up. But
Right.
I grew up on 80s action heroes and stuff, and it was,
Yeah.
and so I like the Expendables. I think with Expendables, the series, the potential of it, I think, has been better than the films.
Right.
Because
Well,
if
I
you
think
remember them,
the first one had such heart. I like that one.
Mm.
The second one, I feel like was much less than the first one, and then the third one kind of came back and said, "Yeah, but this one, it's just like, who gives a shit? And let's shoot it all on blue screen,
yeah,
and we'll just have somebody vaguely fanning people's hair while they're riding on the back of a Jeep with the 50 cal, and it's just it's so well lit. I can't imagine Jason Statham saying, "Oh no, I need a softbox right here to hide my wrinkles." But
no,
all the chicks did, all the actresses. So, what else were we watching the other day? Oh, the morning show, which
Mm.
is good. This season's good. But I want, if there's going to be a light, and I don't mind adding lights in any scene, but there needs to be some sort of source for the light, or it just looks dumb.
Yeah.
To me. Now, Michelle is so forgiving on all this stuff, but there was one scene where these two people, Jennifer Aniston was one of them, and one person is following her, talking to her, and she's just lipping off, and then she turns around to confront this person, and there's no light there, man. If they had stopped at 3 yards back, man, there was a light, and I would have believed it, but this dude's all in the shadows, and of course she's got this bright light so that she looks nice and young, and
Yeah.
I just that pulls me out of it.
So with Expendables, though, you remember when you heard the premise of the first Expendables, it's like we're getting all
Yeah.
the 80s out, and you're like, oh my God, this is going to be
Yeah.
amazing. And then I do like the first three. I've not seen the fourth one, but I like the first three films. I'm not so much bashing those, but they didn't have as many action heroes in as they originally said this thing was going to be all filled. We're going to fill it with all the action heroes. You're like, where's Jackie Chan? And where's, originally, obviously, Harrison Ford, who then came into a later one. But and they did put a lot in, but there was a lot of names in there where you're like, you're not an 80s action hero, so why are you filling the cast out? And then the second one, I feel, had a little bit more action heroes because you got Van Damme and Chuck Norris in that one. You don't need any more than that. Third one was okay, but you look at this fourth one, you're like, well, from what I hear, Stallone's hardly in it, from what I'm led to believe. And you're like,
I'm not going to give anything away. Yeah.
But it's not really, I don't know whether Stallone's in this as much as Drew Barrymore was in the Scream 1 film. I don't, maybe. But it's possibly comparable.
That is a very good comparison.
It's a good one. Yeah. But then Megan Fox, you're like, you weren't even probably born in the 80s, so don't give me none of your 80s action hero stuff. She's apparently very strange in Expendables 4. It's like, why are you there?
She is, and then there's another actress, I can't remember her name, but it's like, at least Barney and the gang were dressed appropriately. It's like we're ex-military, now we're guns for hire. And they dressed like they were going to go in and raid something or whatever and fight and stuff. And here comes Megan Fox in her crop top and lowrider jeans. And I'm just like, what is this? Are you trying to be distracting? I don't understand your purpose. So
yeah. It's Michael Bay's like, yes, she's back. She's back in her crop top and her jean pants or whatever.
It just seemed unreasonable to me. Yeah. So is that a Mandalorian helmet you have?
It is. Yes, you notice. Yes, it's got all my pens and it's a nice little chrome one. But
wow, man.
So yeah, I think
nice, dude.
I think it's ceramic, but it's it's a chrome finish.
Yeah.
Oh yes, I'm trying to change my backdrop each time I do a different video.
Yeah.
So I did a horror podcast on Monday, and I had like piles of horror Blu-rays and DVDs up there. So I'm like, it's November now. Horror, get rid of it, put them all away, and then I've just sort of repurposed the backdrop. So
yeah, I decided to shoot this way. I don't know that I've shot this direction of my object before.
I don't think you have.
Yeah,
I could see it. I could see
it up, man.
I could see a Groot. I could see a camera. Is that the famous Neil Johnson camera? Now John Foutz camera. It is.
Yep. And then
nice.
there's the famous Blade Runner
Hey,
poster. Yeah, man.
nice.
It is funny whenever we have people come over to do any work on the on the pipes or the air conditioning or whatever, and they come down here and they're kind of, it's a wow factor seeing
Yeah,
everything, right? And but that is one of their favorites, man. They're like,
really.
what? And their signatures, yeah. So
Do
yeah,
you
man.
find that they notice the Blade Runner poster and go, wow, that's cool? And then there's like oh my God, is that signed? There's like and then another one, because I
It
can't
is.
remember which
Yep.
poster I had, but I had one on the wall and
Yeah.
people would go, oh, that's amazing. Hang on a minute, is that signed? You go, yes, it is. I think it
That's
was my
it.
Terminator one, actually, signed by
Yeah.
Schwarzenegger and Hamilton. So they would go,
Right.
that's really good. Is that? Yep.
Yep.
And then
There
obviously they
was.
go, how did you get it? And you go, well, I can't tell you.
Yeah. There was one guy that came over. I think he was looking at our heating system, and so anyway, he said, he asked if he could just walk around and look at everything, and he said his wife is a huge fan of Blade Runner, and he asked if it would be okay to take some pictures, and I'm like, of course.
Yes.
So yeah.
No, it's just don't take the picture away.
Right.
Don't take the poster away, and then take the pictures
Right.
because you may never see the poster again.
That's right. And
So,
it's a heavy frame. I'm looking around. That is probably the nicest, heaviest frame. So unlike a lot of the other things that you could probably just yank off the wall and run with, man,
yeah,
that one's like 20 pounds.
that's not a Groot would stop them.
It-
So, it's fine.
I would grab one of the mini Star Wars blasters on the wall and just see if they believed it was real,
I'm sure they would. And then when they're
Yeah.
trying to work that out, just smack them one.
All right.
So you had a question last time. I've got a couple of questions for you as well, but I know you had one
Yeah.
that we didn't manage to cover, which was obviously not one of my favorite topics ever.
Yeah.
Musicals.
Musicals. Musical episodes in a dramatic series.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, we were watching Strange Worlds, and huge fan of the show, man. It really has the heart of the original Star Trek, I think, anyway. And it's just fun. And then because anyway, long story short, there was it kind of made sense, and I kind of thought it was cool. Everybody breaking out in this to song for like the first 30 minutes, and then after that, I was like, dang, man, fix this thing. Fix what is making everybody sing their emotions and feelings and stuff. And I mean, I think everybody had their song, and so cool, man. Let's stop with it. But no, they waited until the very end of the episode, and it was just kind of, it started feeling like the never-ending, stage show at that point. Yeah.
So would
but
you?
I was,
yeah. So overall, did you like it, or were you like, you know what, I get the novelty now. Please don't ever do that again.
So I go from that, and that's exactly my thought. I was like, yeah, you know what? And then the next one was, I mean, like a ball busting episode that was, I mean, had so much stuff going on. It led to a cliffhanger, which will lead to next season. So there was your sing-songy one. No, they're straight up songs. It's not sing-songy. They're straight up songs to being something that was like a Star Trek movie. So that was pretty cool. Then, not 3 days later, I'm watching Doom Patrol, and damn if they're not singing. And so, and I get it. You can have a reason for it. Like this bad guy put a spell on everybody so that they would celebrate their day almost like Christmas, and every day would be a Mortimus day. But everybody was dancing and singing, and so at that point, I was doubly tired. If I'd only watched one and then maybe a year later watched the other, but no, man, back to back, I'm like, it's got to stop. And so I remember, and it wasn't a full episode, but I remember on House MD that I think it was Cuddy went under the knife, and when she, was put out so they could do the surgery. And then, House is singing, and there's cabaret and all this stuff. And it was one song, man. And I thought that was genius.
Yep.
And then they got right back into it with House being his normal self and, joking around about Cuddy's cancer and stuff. I mean, typical House, man. Yeah. But when it comes to, I think if it's a comedy like 30 Rock, when they had their, and I don't think it was a completely musical episode, but when they had their episode where I can't remember the guy's name that runs all the errands, but anyway, he was going to go back home. So he was singing he was going to take the midnight train to Georgia.
Yeah.
And that was hilarious, man. I enjoy it when it's a song or whether it's really purposeful. But if it's a drama, man, it's like, and I was looking at the list of TV series that have had this happen. And Oz was a die-hard prison drama. Am I correct?
I love Oz. It's amazing. Yeah,
So
but
you saw the musical episode?
I saw the musical episode. Yeah.
What caused that? I mean, was somebody in a coma, or they
Nope.
just suddenly decided to break out in song?
They just decided that they were going to break out into song, and it was just a single episode, and nothing's ever mentioned again. Right. And then the episode after, everybody's back to raping each other and stabbing each other. I'd forgotten about the Oz one. I like to think I blotted that episode out of my memory, but
I could not imagine that, man.
Have you seen the entirety of Oz?
No,
it was good.
That was HBO, wasn't it?
Yeah,
I think that was at a time where I didn't have HBO, so
it was their first like hour-long drama. So without Oz, you don't get Sopranos, you don't get 6 Feet Under, and you probably wouldn't get the Wire. I think it was also HBO. So such a good sound. We have this thing now where we watched Oz, and then everything you watch on TV has people from Oz just pop up. J.K. Simmons and all that. That's where they got their start.
Wow. It's very interesting how they'll do that. Like you can see the what is it? With the Upside Down. It's Netflix on
Stranger Things.
Stranger Things. You can see those kids everywhere now.
Yeah. Well, you say kids. They're like grown adults now, aren't they? They'll be 35-year-old seniors, won't they, by the time that show comes back? 11 will be 32.
At least they're kind of aging them appropriately, like, oh, we've graduated from college, so now the Upside Down is back, versus like Harry Potter, because I think he was 40 and still in grade school or something, man. Yeah.
He was playing Dumbledore by the time he got to that age film, wasn't he? It was Daniel Radcliffe.
Yeah, he was.
But the whole musical thing, I don't like musicals anyway.
Yeah.
I really struggle with them.
So there was even an X-Files episode where they sang?
I'm
gonna have to ask Jake about this.
I believe so. Yeah, I think it was one of the later ones, because I don't think they would have got away with that crap in the early episodes. They'd be like, no, get lost.
I mean, again, like, is it because they had their crazy one-offs, like the Genie episode, which that's probably one of my favorites. Jake has his favorites, but he is diehard. So it's one of those things where, it's like, oh, I like this story arc. I like this. I love the standalone episodes that I can just watch and enjoy and then not keep up with it. Not that it wasn't a good show. And I did watch 20 years later,
I've not seen those. I haven't watched those yet.
It was, I enjoyed it. It was good. But I didn't know the lore like Jake did, because I'm sure Jake was like, oh, yeah, in episode 128, it was, so.
But that's because Jake doesn't go out. He doesn't mingle with people. He's just sitting there watching The Wire, hanging on every word that Donald Trump says, going, Donald, yes, you can do it. For those listening, Jake is not a Donald Trump fan, so don't go at him.
No. I thought you were going to say Jake just sits around the house watching The Wire and making babies, because he does have 4.
Is there 4 now? Wow.
Yeah.
By the time this podcast finishes, there'll be 5. So, yeah.
I was asking if they were through, and they're like, "Oh yes," and I'm like, "Yeah, that's what I said twice." So anyway,
is one of their babies going to be a musical baby? Because that could work.
Yeah, very definitely. I think all but Ryan, they all play musical instruments, and Heather teaches. So
there you go.
If you were in the States and you wanted to learn how to play piano, cello, violin, fiddle, banjo, I can't remember, man. It's any stringed instrument, she can teach. So.
I think Heather and Jake are growing their own orchestra then. They're giving Hans Zimmer a rival for money, I think.
Right.
They'd be like, go for it.
Like when my kids were younger and still living at home, anytime I had a video production, then it was like, my son would run boom, my daughter would be AD. So yeah, man, I fleshed out the whole crew. And that it was the cheapest solution. So,
would you ever shoot a musical?
Oh man, that's a good question. I still enjoy Moulin Rouge. Probably because of the mashup songs and the storyline. The fact that, the whole thing starts off with she's going to die. And then you enjoy it and you forget that she's going to die, that there's a
Yeah.
death that is forecasted. And all of a sudden she's dead. And you're like, damn, they got me. So, yeah.
Uh,
So maybe, I mean, like that would, man, I'd probably start out with a short film, just like a single song,
yeah.
because that's monumental. I mean, that is more than fight scenes that just run the whole movie, like a never-ending
Mm.
fight scene, because it's never-ending dancing and singing and choreography, and especially if it's in mass. So I'd rather start off with just someone gets hit in the head and then they're singing about things for 5 minutes, and
Yeah,
then
5 minutes is
wakes
enough,
up.
and then just
Yeah.
move on and get back to reality. So
So
I'm looking
one
down.
of these days, you and I need to plan ahead, write a little song, and then you and I, when we do the podcast, all of a sudden we'll break out in the song.
And then we can ask everybody, did you listen to the episode? They'd be like, no.
Well, we did up until 5 minutes and 38 seconds in. Then
Yeah.
you started singing. So
When you took over, we could cope with John singing like Arnold Schwarzenegger, but you couldn't do it. So I'm looking down these list of shows that had musical episodes, and I haven't seen a lot of these because,
yeah.
I've been lucky. The Flash?
I do remember that. I didn't see it, but I do remember them having it, because that was, I forget what I was watching on Hulu, but, they were advertised, or maybe I was watching the DC network, whatever they call that. But anyway, yeah, I remember it being advertised, and, again, it was stage lighting and all this stuff in Central City. And yeah, but no, I skipped that.
Fringe had one in its second season.
I don't remember that, and I was a huge Fringe fan, so
Yeah.
it must have been okay. I don't know.
Xena Warrior Princess had one in the third season.
And I remember Buffy had one. I don't remember the episode.
Season 6, episode 7. Apparently, that's how good my memory is, or how good my piece of paper is that I've got these written down on. You can decide which one it is.
Right.
For the people listening on audio, it is my memory, and for the people who can see me looking down on the video podcast part of it, it's a piece of paper with this pen.
Right. Either that or Grogu is distracting you.
Grogu could well be distracting me. Yep, under my desk.
Grogu height, man.
That's a whole different Grogu thing. Grey's Anatomy had one. Lucifer.
No, they didn't.
Grey's Anatomy apparently had a musical episode. Yeah.
Have you seen Murders in the Building?
I think season 1 I saw and I enjoyed it. Season 2 and 3 I haven't seen because there's only 24 hours in a day, unfortunately.
Right. It's we finished up season 3, and that one has they're doing a play or a musical, and so that is a major theme. And Steve Martin doing this one song is hilarious. And anyway, so maybe I'll find that on on YouTube and send it to you.
It's be on Disney Plus here in the UK. So
I saw that Disney is purchasing all of Comcast's share of Hulu so that they can run Hulu, which I know that's always been the plan, or I've always thought it was the plan. So,
yeah, for a nice chunk of change, many billions.
Oh yeah, but that way they can control the media.
Yes, like they're not doing that already. But we will be touching upon Disney in one of the questions I'm going to fire at you. Future. See, I'm okay with musical stuff if it's like you said in Only Murders in the Building, where they're doing a stage show. But it's when they just like Star Trek or the X-Files, it's like, I don't know, that doesn't, it messes with my logic because I'm like, why is this science fiction series silly? It's not realistic anymore. That sort of crazy mentality.
Well, but what was I think it was Hawkeye, the TV series, where they had the Avengers musical that Hawkeye went to go see. None of the rest of the Avengers showed up, but that was very, I mean, like, it was just, that was funny, but I mean, they didn't show the whole thing. And so we just got a sampling of, like Steve Rogers singing that he could do this all day and stuff. So, I mean, it was good, man,
No, no.
Can
If
you
a show,
imagine?
no.
Can you imagine Dirty Harry? Do you feel lucky, punk? It's.
Yeah, I could. Well, Cop Rock tried it
Oh
back in
my
the
god.
'90s or whatever it was, and that
Oh
that lasted like not many
yeah.
episodes, and then they're like, yeah, we're gonna take it out the back and
Yeah.
shoot it. So they
That
did.
was one of those things I had the Men in Black erased from my memory. So
It was terrible. It's like, he's guilty, Your Honor. That's it's like,
yeah.
what the hell am I watching? This is from the people that did like, Hill Street Blues and stuff. What? Oh. And that show just died. It just died a death. Awful.
Can you imagine, like, the producers going, "Oh yeah, man, you're golden, Hill Street Blues. Whatever you want to do next, man, we'll bankroll it." And then it's like, "What did you do? With
What
the
did you do?
millions?"
Cancel that check. I mean, maybe The Walking Dead could do it. They could all do Thriller. That could possibly
Maybe.
get a zombie horde just breaking into a
You've
bit of the old MJ.
you've watched the bad lip reading videos, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, yeah. Ever since then, whenever I watch The Walking Dead, all the zombies, instead of going, "Rrr," they go, "Whoa!" Anyway, they're singing, man.
Yeah. So I'd be okay with that. The Dancing Dead.
Right.
So yeah, I'm giving a thumbs down to musical episodes because I've never been.
Dude, they're just confusing, and sometimes you don't. It's like, for something as endearing as Strange Worlds or Strange New Worlds, and then all of a sudden, Michelle and I look at each other like, what's going on, man? It's like, and there was another episode of Strange New Worlds that was promoting the Below the Deck or whatever that Jake loves, man. He
Lower
thinks
Decks,
it's hilarious. Yeah. And so the whole episode starts off in the cartoon, and I looked at Michelle because she started the Roku, right? And I said, "What did you do? This isn't what we're watching." And she was, "No, it isn't." I paused it, and sure enough, man, Strange New World. So then a cartoon character was teleported to the back in time and met all of his heroes, Spock and all that. So anyway, but I mean, it didn't make a lot of sense. Not unless our future is to be 2D characters. And maybe that's the future, man,
I find it funny that you said to Michelle, "What did you do? Did you think she pressed did you think that she pressed the animate everything button on the Roku stick?"
I thought she had started playing the other Below Decks. I was just like, "What did you do?" Because I mean, like, anyway, yeah. But
What did you
she had
do?
the same takeaway. She said, "What did I do? I pressed the button."
Yeah. So I'm going to move on to something that's slightly similar but slightly different. So where are you with Marvel? Are you up to date, or are you not up to date?
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
We
you're
are
up to date.
currently watching Loki, the latest season, and let's see here. Yeah, I think we've seen everything. There's the Ms. Marvels or whatever, the Marvelettes, whatever it's called, coming out this month. And I'm gonna wait on Disney for that. But yeah, man, we're up to date. What about you?
I printed a list out because I'm like, I'm not up to date by any means, and I thought, well, where did I drop out was the question. Right. So I saw all of Phase 1, loved it. So obviously it ends with the Avengers. I watched all of Phase 2, which started with Iron Man 3 and ended with Ant-Man, according to this thing I've printed out. Then there was Phase 3, which I've seen most of. I haven't seen Captain Marvel.
Right.
So I've not watched that film. I've seen everything from that one.
It was okay. It kind of sets the stage for what is it? What is it? It's not Invisible War, but it's something like that. Anyway,
Secret Invasion or whatever it was.
Secret Invasion.
Is it that one? Again, there's something else I've not seen. So Phase 4 seems to be where I dropped out. So I'd seen Black Widow. Right. I've seen the first season of Loki. I've seen Spider-Man No Way Home. And I've seen Ms. Marvel. I did start watching Thor: Love and Thunder, but to be honest, I lasted about 15 minutes, and I'm like, the hell? What is gone wrong with this film? This is stupid. So I tapped out of that one.
I will, because we watched that one. I will go through, and right when they had this epic Tarantino-esque Kill Bill battle, and blood and guts are going everywhere, but they're all golden people, so it's golden blood.
Wow.
And but it is gory as hell, man. But yet I guess it was acceptable because it wasn't like Kill Bill, like, cutting one of the board members' heads off, and then the fountain occurs. So, but that's in essence what they had in here. But
Wow.
again, it's golden people bleeding golden blood, so it's like whatever, man. But
It was just
hilarious.
it was too stupid comedy for me.
Well,
For me, I'm like, I
not
can't
Chris
cope with that.
Evans, was it? Chris
Hemsworth.
Hemsworth even
Yeah.
said that, he was kind of embarrassed. And so that if he does a Thor 4 or whatever, I guess 5, he said it's got to go back. And
Yeah.
I liked Thor coming down from being so Shakespearean the first 2 times. He became much more human and more palatable, I guess. And then, but yeah, you're right. I mean, like, I am a Taika Waititi fan, but that one was just like, what in the world, man?
I mean, Ragnarok nailed it. It was perfect. It was funny. It fitted within the Thor world, to the world that we'd seen before in the other 2 movies and stuff. Yeah. I couldn't cope with Love and Thunder. I put it on and I'm like, I can't watch this. I'm out. So I've probably seen 6-7 minutes of it. I really haven't seen much. I'm like, I'm out. I think with me, I started to drop out of Marvel when the TV shows came along.
Yeah.
Because it was easier in the first 3 phases. It was like you got 2 or 3 films a year. You go brilliant. That's like 3 hours each. It's 3 months or whatever that I've got to watch something. But then when it's jumping around and going to TV, then I'm like, okay, I've not seen a lot of those. Then when Doctor Strange 2 came out, I liked the Doctor Strange, the first movie, but then somebody said, have you seen WandaVision? I'm like, no. Anyway, you've got to watch WandaVision before you watch, to get to understand Doctor Strange, you kind of need to see WandaVision. I'm like, well, I guess I'll skip Doctor Strange then. And then the whole damn thing started crashing down on me just because of that. So I'm way, way behind on the Marvel sort of universe. I don't know if I'll catch up. I'd like to, because I do enjoy most of the ones I've seen.
Right.
But it's just too much content here, there, and everywhere, and homework, and you've got to watch. I mean, the Marvels that's coming out. I know who Miss Marvel is. I know who Captain Marvel is, even though I've not seen the Captain Marvel movie. I could tell you the third one is. Apparently, she's something to do with WandaVision as well. So I'm like, well, I've not seen that, so I'll probably skip the Marvels as well. So they're not helping themselves.
Well, they complicated it to the point, the original groups of movies, where it's like, oh well, you can't see, you need to watch all these movies in this order. And then once they stopped doing the one shots or whatever, the short films that went on the disc, because that further complicated things. And then there was also like the post credit scene that would set up another movie and stuff, and so it got complicated. And now they do. I mean, it's a good. I guess it's a good plan to entangle everything so that you want to watch everything, unless you don't want to watch everything. And then people just hang it up. Yeah,
it's fine if you want to watch just Marvel movies. But if you want to watch anything that isn't a Marvel movie as well, forget it. It's not happening. I'm sorry, I can't come into work today because WandaVision's on, and I need to watch that before I go to the movies to watch the Marvel. No, there's not many jobs would let you get away with that. So it's I've got quite a bit behind. Plus, there's also the time scale. I think any time there's a series of films where people go, "What order did you watch it in?" It's like, no, there should just be one order. For the love of God, just watch it in the order they came out. I couldn't tell you when's Captain Marvel set. Well, that's actually set before this one. Okay, when's WandaVision set? Well, that's set before, after, during, and it's too confusing.
Oh yeah. Well, and WandaVision. Well, I'm not going to give it away, but I mean that's after Endgame. So I mean, like, but I mean, but the cool thing with Guardians of the Galaxy, when they came out, and I thought, and I still think the first, I like the whole trilogy, but especially the first one was just, it hit me at the right time. I thought it was amazing, and I told the kids, you've got to go see this movie, and they're like, I'm not watching the rest of the Marvel movies to get to this, and I was like, no, you don't need to.
You don't need to at all, no.
But after you watch the first two, Then you need to see, what is it? The Infinity, and then you've got to see Endgame, and then you can watch the third one, or it doesn't make sense. And yeah, man, I mean, that's a commitment.
Yeah. When you go, let's watch a movie, right? Let me just get these sheets of paper out so we can work
Right.
out which one. No, you're watching that in the wrong order. No. I
I
mean,
remember one. Yeah.
I have seen Guardians 3, so I do sort of, I've not totally binned off Marvel, but I do pick and
Right.
choose.
Oh, well, you have to. And it's, I think Ms. Marvel on Disney, I think that is much more geared towards little kids, kind of iCarly crowd or whatever.
Mhm.
And although I enjoyed it and I thought it was very well done, but I mean, so there's time, and I didn't like WandaVision. I mean, like,
Really?
Michelle
Okay.
thought it was great, but I mean,
Yeah.
like, WandaVision to me was just, when's the story going to take off? But then again, it came on the heels of Endgame, and Endgame was like Terminator 2, and all of a sudden, here's Bewitched. Yeah,
Here's
it's
Bewitched,
just
which is Terminator 3. You're like, oh.
right. That's right. Yep. But then I still laugh at the fact that Schwarzenegger looks so much like Clint Eastwood in that movie.
Yeah, it does. He does a bit, doesn't he?
Yeah.
But so I've seen Ms. Marvel. I've seen the first
Yeah.
season of Loki, so I enjoyed those. But it's just all the other ones. I'm like, maybe at some point I'll go back and watch them. But I'm kind of, I'm a bit with Marvel at the minute.
I mean,
because it's just too much.
Yeah. Well, and you have more time than I do, but you are still wanting to use that time wisely. And yeah, man, unless you're just paid to watch content, man, I mean, like, it's, I don't know, man. I'm much more picky, and Michelle and I've gotten to the point where if we need something to watch and there's nothing new that we're kind of into, like we've already seen the first season and it's kind of proven itself, man, we'd rather go back and watch something that we feel is a sure bet.
Yeah.
Something we've already seen. Yeah.
I think for the past 3 weeks, there's just been nothing I wanted to watch. Movie wise, I'm like, I don't care. They're all terrible. I know they're not all terrible. There are movies that I want to watch, but I've just had that writer's block, I guess, when it comes to watching films. It doesn't seem that there's that many new films coming out, though.
No, and I think even though all these movies say, and my dogs keep coming up to me, that's why I keep crossing my hands. It's not giving you sign language like, okay, man, it's time to wrap up.
Yes.
It is these dogs. Oh my God. They can't figure out why because you don't exist. They don't understand cameras or anything. And they keep coming up to me like, you're being loud. You're talking. Surely you're talking.
Is it to me?
Except for the one dog who is deaf, and evidently he just can feel my voice reverberating throughout the entire house. But yeah, man, I don't even know where I was going with that. Because the dog's distracted.
Yeah, I think obviously there are movies coming out. It's just I just don't feel like there's anything out at the minute that I want to watch. It's just I've hit one of those.
Yep.
And this happens to be periodically where I'm like, kind of don't want to watch any more films that I've never seen before. So I go back and I watch the old classics. I sat on Halloween night and watched Halloween, the 1978 one, and I really enjoyed watching it. I've seen it dozens of times. But it reminded me why I love movies. But as for new things, have you seen this? Nah.
And it's you look forward to it. It comes out in movie theater, and then because it didn't make a gazillion dollars, then the studio says, "Oh, it's a failure." And I'm just like, well, why do I want to go see a failure? They kind of proclaimed that they don't want to make any more money, and then it's going to be on Disney Plus or HBO Max. Sorry, Max. It's gonna be it's like on Twitter, I mean X. Oh my God, so many name changes. But anyway, it's it's one of those things where I know it's gonna be on. It's like Jake is going to see Flowers of the Moon or whatever that Scorsese movie is.
Killers of the Flower Moon. Theater. I really want to watch that as well.
Man.
Yep.
And but I mean, like in 2 weeks' time, it'll be on Apple TV Plus.
Yep.
So that way, if I need to use the restroom or whatever, I don't need to run P app. I can just pause it.
Do you mean you're not going to sit there with your legs crossed for 3 hours and 26 minutes on that film?
Is it 3 hours and 20 minutes?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, dude.
Yeah. That's why, like,
Remember
you know
when
what?
that
I'm gonna
was?
watch it at home.
Yeah. You remember when that was not, I mean, like that was unheard of for a movie to be 3.5 hours long, because we grew up with movies being stereotypically 90 minutes. And then I think Titanic came out, and so many people were like going, "Oh my God, it's so long." And so I didn't, I went with, I guess that was my ex-wife, and I didn't want to go, but I took her anyway, and I got one of those huge, like, the barge of Coke, and I was just drinking it, going, "Yeah, this is a good excuse for me to go out and talk to my friends who worked out in the movie theater." And man, it got good, and then it started to sink, and all this stuff happened, and I was wowed by the animation, and then I was like cursing the fact that I had gotten the big drink,
Yep.
you know?
I went to see Martin Scorsese's Casino back in the mid-90s, and
Yeah,
that's just short of 3 hours. That's well over the 2.5 hour mark. And I
yeah.
bought one of these big drinks, and at the beginning of it, I took a thing, and I wasn't used to the heavy drink, so the damn thing went all over me, and I'd sit there for the rest of the movie soaked to the skin. But I didn't want to leave because I've still got to come back, so I just
Right.
sat there drowned in Diet Coke. But
That
it's like,
was a cold seat too, right?
it was indeed. But I think long movies have always been a thing. I mean, if you go back to things like
Right.
Spartacus and Ben-Hur, and
Yeah.
then in the 90s, Kevin Costner went, "Well, I'm not cutting anything. I want to do Dancing with Wolves." Like a 3 hour
Yep.
version or a 4 hour version if you get the full one.
Right.
Oliver
Oh my
Stone
gosh.
came out and went, "I'm going to make
Yeah.
JFK 3 hours." So
Right.
then the long film started, Schindler's List, then
Right.
Titanic. But they're not as
Yep.
common as they are now. It's just ridiculous now. You'd be hard pushed to
Yep.
find a 95-minute film nowadays.
Yeah.
They're all, Indiana Jones, which I did enjoy, 2 hours and 20 minutes. Give me a break. Come
Right.
on, make it shorter. Still be a good film,
And
but is there any
that
reason for
one,
that to be 2 hours 20?
yep, that one and I enjoyed it. I think we've
Hmm.
already talked about it, but I mean, it's like there were points in the movie where I just started feeling like that this was either a video game, kind of like Uncharted, or it was a Disney ride. You know?
Yeah, it was both. I think what it was $300 million for a movie. Uh-oh.
Yeah. Well,
Scary.
they kept Indiana Jones young too long, man. That
Yes,
was,
it
I think
is.
that was the deal breaker right there, man. Budget breaker.
Yep. So my next question for you, where are you with Star Wars? Are you fully up to date with Star Wars stuff?
Um, let's see here. Yes, on all the new live action stuff.
Hmm?
And I discovered Bad Batch a while back, so I'm watching it. And then I started after watching Ahsoka, then Disney was like, "Oh, hey, if you like that, then check out this. This will give you her backstory." And so I started watching parts of the Clone Wars, and I was like, "Dude, this is deep and really good." And so anyway, I was starting. I probably had 3 episodes to go on the final season. And Michelle said, "Oh, so you're watching this without me?" I forgot that she's such a big Star Wars nerd too. And I'm like, "Hey, I'm going to go back and start the whole thing." So we'll go back and start it. But it's funny how much enjoyment you can get out of that. And I mean, it's Filoni, and he did a great job, man. He has a passion for Star Wars like no other. And and so anyway, but I mean, I always viewed it as just some kid show. I mean, I didn't like
Mhm.
the character styles. I thought they looked dumb, man. And but I mean, they kept that same style. They just enhanced all the shadows and smoke, but they had some of the best lightsaber battles. And then of course, Darth Maul comes back. So anyway, we're making our way through that, and then Jake swears by Star Wars Rebels, which does tie into Ahsoka. So, but we haven't
Yep.
seen that yet. How about you?
I have seen all of the live action stuff other than Ahsoka. I haven't seen
Really
any of
good,
that
man.
because
Yeah,
every time I would hear Ahsoka mentioned, they were like, "Oh, you need to have seen Rebels. You need to have seen these episodes of Clone Wars." I'm like,
yeah, yeah,
same as I think with Marvel. It's like I ain't doing no
yeah.
homework. I'm not doing any
Dude.
homework I haven't got time to do homework.
Well, you know me. I watched Bosch season 2 and then watched
Yeah.
season 1. So
Hmm.
watching Ahsoka with no background other than Rosario Dawson is fine
Yeah.
as anything she plays. So
Mhm.
and we had seen her in The Mandalorian, what was it, season 2.
Yeah.
So those characters were kind of familiar, but I didn't know her backstory at all.
Okay.
I didn't know if she was truly a Jedi, or whether she was kind of like, kind of a Jedi, and her connection with Anakin or anything. But so I think you could watch Ahsoka, the live action, and you wouldn't be lost at all. But it
I
is
will give it a
cool.
go. Yeah.
Yeah, man, it is cool going back and watching Clone Wars and seeing where she comes from, and some of these other characters that you meet along the way in Ahsoka, and yeah, I mean, even that the ridiculous droid that has the arms and goes bang 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 bang, and but that didn't even annoy me. I mean, like, it was all good, but it was interesting seeing meeting them for the first time. So I think if I had seen all that, I would have been the ultra giddy fanboy. But
Mm.
just being Star Wars and telling such a good story, I was quite happy with it.
I will give it a go. Yeah, I'm just not a fan when you watch a show and clearly you're meant to have watched all this other stuff, and
Right,
then you're so confused. You're like, I
right,
don't. Who are they? What is that person? But the
right,
filmmaker presumes you will know because you've watched it all. It's like, well, I haven't.
right. Yeah, yeah.
I think the last Star Wars thing I watched was Andor, which is still
That was good.
my favorite one.
Dude, okay, so you talk about not making the connection. I
Mm.
didn't realize that led up to what was it?
Rogue
Uh,
One.
Rogue One. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like, how did I miss that? Other than the years and years between them, but I enjoyed Andor. I was like, well, what the hell's with that ending? Not thinking that it goes directly into the movie, which is probably one of my favorite Star Wars. I don't want to call it a sequel because it's really not, where it
Yeah.
comes out, but yet I think that was better than most of the sequel trilogy, where Luke isn't Luke, and we get a little wonky with things.
We do.
You're my
I think.
sister cousin. I'm gonna drop you this lightsaber. Yeah.
I think I know it's obviously these. We've talked about Marvel and we've talked about Star Wars. Obviously, both Disney things now. Do you think what do they need to do to get both of these projects back on track? If you feel that they're a little bit off track,
Man, see, definitely let Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau just work with Lucas and do their thing. I think all the directors for everybody that did, because they had so many directors for Mandalorian, and then I think they had one director for most of Ahsoka. But still, man, you've got George Lucas and Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau, who just, of course, George loves it, but I mean, like, the other two are big a fanboys as you and I are. So
yeah,
I think let them keep the reins. Um, that's the way I see that turning around. Just give us more of the content where, where it takes us back to our childhood.
yeah,
I mean, it's when George Lucas did the reimagining, what was it, the special edition of Star Wars, and dewbacks were changed into lizards and all this stuff. And, hey, okay, you've got new toys. I get it, But
yeah,
the fact that Jon Favreau brought back the original dewbacks for The Mandalorian, I was like, yes, that is awesome. So,
yeah. I kind of wish they'd just stop announcing films that never happen. Like, hey, the Game of
You're right.
Thrones producers, Benioff and Weiss, they're going to be doing one. Yeah, no.
Right.
Tony Gilroy, he's going to be doing one. Yeah, no, he's not.
Right.
Taika Waititi, he's going to be doing this. Everybody goes, yay, Taika. Oh, yeah, he's not doing it.
Right.
Well, it's just like, stop announcing stuff unless you.
Right.
Can we get back to the time when it's like, hey, this is now November 2023. In May 2024, you're getting your Taika Waititi Star Wars because we've been making it. Great, you get excited and you go actually watch it. And they do this with Marvel as well. I'm looking at which was probably done a while ago. So this is Phase 5. Now these are the films that are coming out in 2022 to 2024.
Right.
Blade. Black Panther 3, Rise of Atlantis, Captain Marvel 2000, maybe that's the Marvels. They might have changed the title on that one. Ironheart. The Fantastic Four. We're getting. And what
and
else?
That's with a completely new Fantastic Four.
Oh yeah, new one. The Thunderbolts.
That's almost like the Hulk. I mean, it's like, oh man, we love the guy from Australia. I can't remember his name, but anyway,
Eric Bana.
Yes. His documentary is still one of my favorites about racing. Anyway, but I mean, it's like, we love him. Oh no, we hate him. We're going with this next guy because we love him. Oh, he's a dick. We hate him.
Something else next. So we are actually getting a Hulk film in 2023, apparently October 2023, called Hulk.
What is that?
Future Imperfect. It's called Hulk Future Imperfect. On February 2023, we are getting a film called The Thunderbolts. Don't even think that ever came out. May 2024.
Which that will be good if you're familiar with the franchise. I have been looking forward to that. Yeah,
that's down for Phase 5. And also May 2024, Captain America: Serpent Society.
And is Chris Evans coming back, or are they replacing?
Who knows? It just gives a name and a date, which is probably never going to happen because it's what seems to happen. And they do it with Marvel, they do it with Star Wars. It's like stop announcing stuff.
Well, they do it with so many franchises, and I think that shows the fickleness of Hollywood, where it's like, oh yeah, man, we love this director and this writer, so man, they're coming together to make the mega new. Suddenly someone, we found a tweet from 20 years ago, and we're done with him, we're done with her, and it's endless, man. Hollywood has such commitment issues. So unless you're like Neil Johnson, who just says, you know what, I'm going to do it my way, I'm going to do my project, and I'll find a home for it when I'm done, right?
Yeah.
Then, man, I mean, like, you think about how many projects have started, and I can't think of any off the top of my head, but I mean, like, they went into production, and they were like, whoa, hey, we decided not to do this anymore. I mean, that's like giving you a new car, you drive it around for 6 months, and then we changed our mind, we're taking the car. What? I need it for work, man.
Yep. It's horrendous.
You'll be able to find something else. Get a bike. Yeah.
But yeah, I think with Star Wars, it's just like, don't feel it. I miss the eventness of a Star Wars movie, because obviously you and I, Star Wars 1977, then it was Empire, and we're like, oh my god, and then 83, oh, you're going to get the third one, you're like, oh my god, you had the anticipation. Now you go, missed that one, but there'll be another one on next week, it's fine. There'll be another new show in February, and it's just too much. Much.
And two, when the sequels were like here, and the like the Mandalorian and all this stuff is way up here, and you can watch that from home. Why do you want to go to the movie theater and be disappointed? Because I mean, the first one I went to with high hopes, this is where Han Solo gets killed. I went with high hopes for that, and I didn't hate it, but it was more nostalgia driving it for me than it being a great movie. And then the next two, and Princess Leia floating around in space using I mean, it's like, what is this? And then Luke is like, oh no, I'm gonna peer, I'm gonna project. Oh my god, dude. And I mean, when you have somebody like Mark Hamill going, yeah, this isn't Luke, but I'm going to do it anyway because I don't own the character, and they, but it's just, I don't know, man.
It's
just kind of crazy.
I wish Disney would stop making shows like the Marvel stuff and Star Wars for streaming. Keep it in the cinemas.
Yeah.
Keep it in the movie theaters, because then when there's a new Star Wars thing coming out, you get excited. You actually go out. I wish the streaming platforms were just libraries. Do you know, like, so
like Voodoo,
Voodoo, yeah. So it's like, I want to watch like a classic Disney film, go to Disney Plus, or by all means put the Star Wars and the Marvel stuff on there 6 months after it's been out in cinema. But like you just said, it's like, why do we need to go to the movies to watch something when there's like Secret Invasion or Ahsoka or Andor or something on my television?
Right, and you've got the 20-foot. I mean, like, you've got the widescreen, the projection thing. So it was funny. I asked because Jake asked me if I didn't want to go see the movie today, and I was like, dude, I'm working until 4, and then I'm podcasting with Stuart. So, and I said, if you'd like to come and sit and sit in with us. That would be awesome. We could
Yeah, yeah.
surprise Stuart. And I said, plus, this movie is going to be on Apple TV Plus in like
Mm.
a week. And he was like, yeah, Scorsese's old, so I want to see it on the big screen. And when that is what you are, that's your drive, then I mean, and it's whatever, man. I mean, like, I wanted to go see, what is it? The Kingdom, was that the name of it? About androids, and it just came out. It was like
The
maybe
Creator.
a month ago.
The Creator.
Creator.
Yeah, I want to watch
And
that.
I was
Yeah.
so close, man. I know. See,
You got
but anyway,
you got the part right, so
right.
you were halfway there.
But I wanted to go see that in the movie theater, and I think I can still find it. But before long, it'll be on the TV, and I'll be fine with that. So.
And I love that, because it's like I can watch it pretty soon, but I also hate that, because if we knew that the Creator wasn't going to be out on our home format for like a year, we would have gone to the movies to watch it.
Right.
But we don't. We're kind of lazy. We're like, yeah, I'll just wait.
Right.
And I do it as well. Do it all the time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you think about it. I think, like when we were back in the 80s, when we go see a movie, maybe 9 months later, it would be on HBO. And then an extra 6 months and it'd be on VHS. But it was only on the VHS that you could rent, because they got copies before we could buy. And then finally we could buy it. But it was so far down the road that, yeah, man, if you wanted to go see it, you needed to go see it in the theater. It was kind of like Christmas specials. And, if you didn't see Rudolph at 8:00 on Tuesday, then you weren't going to see it again until next year.
But also it's things like, say, the Creator. You go, well, the Creator came out, and obviously it didn't come out last Friday, but let's just say it did. Right. So it comes out last Friday, and you go, oh, well, I'm busy this weekend. I'll go the weekend after. Oh, no, actually, I've got a party that weekend, so I'll go the weekend after that. So I'll go in a couple of weeks. You go to the movie theater, you're like, where's the Creator gone? Oh, it's gone. They only stay in cinemas really short periods of time, unless you're a Top Gun Maverick or an Oppenheimer or a Barbie or something. Right. But I remember going to watch. I remember going to watch Steve Jobs. I really wanted to watch that. Yeah. And I went a week after it came out, and it had gone. Because I'm like, what? Are you not showing Steve Jobs? He went, no, nobody watched it. I'm like, it came out last week. Gone.
Dude, when we, like, back in the summers in the 80s and 90s, there was your big tentpole movies, as they used to call them. And I mean, like, they would come in and you couldn't wait to see them. And then you wanted to watch something else, but they would keep them week after week after week, because they were making the theater money. And some of the movies that I wanted to see got bumped. I had to go to the neighboring town to be able to see them, because Star Wars was sticking around or whatever, And but that was the thrill of the big movies, and we were really driven by the science fiction magazines that would post pictures and stuff. Oh, this is what's going to be in Return of the Jedi or whatever, and then word of mouth, man. We don't have the water cooler experience anymore, and I don't think the I guess millennials and younger, they'll never experience that, because their water cooler is Twitter or X, or it's Instagram.
It's not really blue. It's not really Blue Sky, is it? Because to be fair, nobody's on there.
Right.
That's just, I've been on there for probably 3-4 months. I've got like 30 followers. I've got 5 invite codes I can't even give away. Anybody want an invite code? Nothing. There's no point.
Dude,
There's nobody's on.
I
will send you one. I'll send you 5 if you want them. But
I don't know, man. I mean, like, if you send me 5, then I'm gonna send 1 to Jake, and then I'm gonna send you 4. So I mean, it's it's like trying to get over leftovers.
I'll send you 2, 1 for you, 1 for Jake.
All right, sounds good, man.
If Eric's listening and he wants one, I'll send him one too. So let me know.
Sounds good. Yep.
But yeah,
and Neil Johnson wants one.
I don't think he does. I think I asked him and he's like, "I'm good, thanks." So I don't even think Neil Johnson wants one.
Dude,
don't discourage him from doing his films. Don't discourage Neil from that. He needs to finish his flipping Time War. I'm getting older. Yep. I want to watch it.
Yeah. I envision Neil as being like the Terminator with the long blonde hair. Yeah. So he is relentless in pursuing the finish of his show. So,
He is.
and I'm looking forward to it too, man.
I've seen most of the first episode. That's really good.
Really?
But this was a few years ago, and so it's
well,
like
I'm sure it's even better, man.
I'm sure it is. Just keep getting longer. It's like, dude, finish it.
That's the British side of his brain, right? It's the first episode is 3 hours, and then the second episode is 2.5. It's like Sherlock. It's movies, man. But that is the gift that he will be giving the world when he's done.
Yeah, it needs to finish. I want to watch it now.
Yeah, man, definitely. And I'd love to see some clips too. Hint.
Yes. So, have you watched anything? What have you watched that's been good that we've not talked about?
Oh,
anything
man.
or nothing. It's been one of those years. It's been a really good years for film, but it just seems the first half of the year was better than now.
Yeah. Gosh, man, I'm trying to think of anything of note that I would say do not miss, because there's a lot of stuff that's good. But I
watched 65. Yeah. Did you watch 65?
No, I don't even know what that is.
That is the Adam Driver one when he crashes on a planet and it's populated by dinosaurs.
Yes, that was excellent. I like that.
That was good. It was like 90 minutes or whatever it was. It was like, we're in, we'll tell the story, we're off. Brilliant. No homework. It's great. I knew what dinosaurs were, so I was all good to go on that one.
Right. That was good. And then the bug goes down the girl's throat and she can't breathe, and he's got to coax that out. So man.
So that's a fun movie. Gran Turismo or Gran it's a Gran Torino then. Gran Turismo is very good.
Yeah.
It is good because I like Neil Blomkamp.
Yeah.
So that was what intrigued me about that. I was like, oh, look, a movie about car racing and PlayStation. So I'm like, meh. But the fact that he directed it, I'm like, there must be something about that film that fits in the Neil Blomkamp. And there is. Obviously, there's no big aliens and stuff in it, but it's just a pretty cool film.
Yeah. And which is funny, because one of the things I pitched to you about being a topic, and we can hit it later, is movies that were birthed from video games. And Gran Turismo is that, man. And, but the list was not, I couldn't even do 10.
Really? Of good ones, you mean? Or
of good ones, yeah. And then, what is it? It also lapped into, I have to keep unlocking my iPad, because this is all my notes. I don't do it on paper. So
I'm old school. Sheets of paper and printer ink.
Well, dude, you never have to unlock the paper. You just pick it up, man. You've got it. But it's like,
no, but I was doing a podcast the other day with Sean O'Banion, and he's like, "Are you rustling paper?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm turning like one sheet of paper," and he could hear it. The guy has bat ears, so I have to watch with the rattling paper. But what I also didn't realize is I was doing this with a pen at one point. I didn't realize I was doing it. And I know he used to podcast previously with a host who used to, take drinks and eat crisps and play with bubble wrap and all sorts of stuff. And I didn't want to be that person, but I inadvertently tapped his pen for like 30 seconds, and he's like, threw the pen over the room. I'm like, I'll never do it again. Don't fire me.
It's funny when I'm doing voiceover. For the most part, I like everything digital, so that it's all on the screen in front of me. I'll send you a picture of my setup. But sometimes my client will send me like a 9-page script, and I need to alter it. And I could do that digitally, but sometimes just highlighting and stuff is easier. But you have to fold. Well, I don't have any pages near me, but anyway, you have to fold them long sideways, and that kind of keeps them from rustling so much. That, and then I used to crumple them up and then straighten them back out. Like you're in school. It's like, I don't need this report. Oh, wait, I do.
I do need it. Because I find, because we're doing this with video, which will still become audio. With audio, it's easy because I could just be looking at IMDb and going, so John, I've watched this. But with video, you can't go, let me just look at this. So that's why I then went over to the paper. And I've even got to some point when I'm doing interviews, I will have sheets of paper strategically, like Marlon Brando with the Post-it notes in Superman, just stuck everywhere. And I'll be like, well, my next question is.
It does help, man.
It does help.
Top secret, although everybody who listens to your podcast, all the 1.5 million people will know that Jake and I are planning on doing a Wasking Cinematic on Tuesday.
Nice.
Yeah. So
have you got your
forward to that.
Is it going to be a video one or audio? Are you not sure
I'm
yet?
down with it, man. I mean, like, we haven't done it in the new space, and man, I meant to bring out the alien Nerf gun.
Yeah.
Because I've found one of those on super sale for $50, and I'm like, man, I think I'm gonna get this. And but anyway, but yeah, so I mean, there's just so much stuff down here that yeah, I think we're gonna stream it. And who knows, man? I'm not a big Facebook fan, just for infinite reasons, but we may do. I don't know if Periscope is still a thing. I don't think the app that we used to use to stream Waxing Cinematic even exists anymore.
Stream with a dot, wasn't it?
That's
one?
it.
That was it. I remember.
Dude, you remember the intro?
Yep.
Live in front of an audience. Stream with the dot. Yep.
I am tipping my sort of toe into the water of YouTube, and that will include live streams. So I've been investigating how to do that, and it's on a PC. Forget it; it's a nightmare. It's too tricky. You've got to however many windows open. But if you're doing it on a phone, it's very easy. You go live, add a guest, done. So you could just both be sitting there on your smartphones and you're streaming live at the same time. So that's something. I very nearly did this with us tonight, but I'm like, no, I'm gonna do it another night. So but that will be something.
Dude, but that'll be cool, and that way you can field questions, and But the distracting thing is you've got people who are like, ooh, is that a Mandalorian helmet? Oh, hey, I think the third Star Wars is the best. I like the prequels better or whatever. And then you've got some dumbass saying, hey, will you and Jake get naked? And no, we're not going to get naked. You're trying to ignore that comment, right?
Yeah. So you have got all that. You have got that silliness. And then obviously if somebody's listening to that in an audio version later on, they're going to be like, what are you even talking about? So I think it's about finding the balance between video and audio, which is why on this episode we're not like, hey, look what I'm watching, and then put it down, because nobody in audio land will know what we're on about. So it's about trying to do both. Yep. I think. Well, but I'm happy that Waxing Cinematic's coming back.
Yeah. Well, our plan is to do it kind of like what you and I were talking about. Let's do it like once a month, So keep that expectation low so it happens, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I was going to say, man, once you get on Spotify and you get that Joe Rogan money, then you can have a Jamie that helps you out with everything. So you have a producer, and then it's like, hey, Jamie, throw Jon Favreau's picture up there.
I'd settle
for Time War up there.
I'd settle for any money. Never mind Joe Rogan money. That's my dream, to actually make something. It would be nice. Right. That's my goal for 2024.
I hear you, man.
So video games. It's not a long list of good ones.
No.
I could probably do 10. I would put the Resident Evil movies in there, which I think like 7. So I've only got to find 3 more. I enjoy them. I like them. I think they're fun. They're stupid. I like all of them.
So there was a game that we were playing with the kids, and it was like, name 3 movies with a shark. And so
Jaws 1, Jaws 2, Jaws 3.
And I was just like, really? And of course it was legit. So, that was the score. So
that's allowed.
Yep. But I agree, man. Resident Evil movies were good. What's her name? The actress in it?
Jovovich.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I always thought she was easy on the eyes, and she was, doing all the action and stuff. I think it was, what was it? Fifth Element. I think that was the first time I saw her in anything. So, yep.
So I've got those. I didn't like Uncharted. I never finished it.
Was it just? I finished it, but it was. I mean, like, I was more than a little put off in the beginning when he's, being thrown out of the plane or whatever, and he's out there and the cargo is connected, and he's like leaping, and I'm like, dude, this is too Doom. This is too much like the video game.
That is the moment I checked out. I'm like, I don't believe the physics of this film. And I keep watching the Fast and Furious movies, so clearly I'm not that much of a fan of physics. But I never finished Uncharted. I did like the Tomb Raider movie, the remake, the newest one. And I like the previous 2, but the new one.
Angelina Jolie, man.
Yep.
Yeah.
So both of those at cinema, so they were good films. So that's like 10. That's actually my top 10 Resident Evil.
Man.
7 of those, and 3 Tomb Raider movies. Woo-hoo.
I had Uncharted on there, and then Silent Hill. I enjoyed the first one anyway. That was the first time, and I know I've told the story at least 100 times on podcast, but that was the first time that the movie theater was packed, and I was sitting up at the top because that was the only place I could get a seat. And when the first scare happened, this lady jumped out of her seat and said, "Wah!" I'd never seen anybody. It was Scooby-Doo, man. It was awesome. And she left and never came back. So,
oh, no, poor woman. She hid and ran away.
It was Super Mario Brothers, the latest one with Chris Pratt.
Haven't seen that yet.
Man.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
I enjoyed that. Of course, Lara Croft made it on there. Werewolves Within. I don't know if you ever saw that. But I didn't know that was based on a video game.
Me neither.
Is that not crazy? Yeah,
that's crazy.
It has the AT&T girl in it, and I can't remember her name. And but anyway, what else? The Angry Birds movie I thought was just kind of meh.
Yeah,
I mean,
never saw that.
And Hitman, I think the first one was okay, and then the second one was just weird. Maybe it's the reverse. Maybe the first one was weird and the second one was okay. I don't know, man.
One of them's weird.
Yeah, man. TV series Arcane is based
not
on.
Seen that yet.
Oh, dude, you got to see it, man. That would be, and I think that came out last year. But that would probably, I would highly, highly, highly recommend that. Great story, and the visuals are amazing. I mean, like the second animated Spider-Man movie, Across the Multiverse or whatever, that was really cool. Lots of different styles all put together. But I mean, like Arcane had this magical style, and if you paused it for any reason, it looked like you just opened a book. I mean, like it was nice. And then of course, Witcher. Henry Cavill. I know he's your buddy. You know, yeah. Don't you hang out with him?
No,
and his dog Zeus or whatever.
No,
you go jogging in the park.
Sadly, not me jogging. No, many years since I've run. I ran for a bus maybe a couple of years ago, but about that, no, that's pretty much it.
Dude, you know that's funny that that should get brought up like that because I forget what we were watching. Oh, Mission Impossible. Yes, the last one, part 1. Yep. That was excellent. But anyway, I'm watching Cruise run around, and I mean, I'm like, damn, I wish I could run. I mean, like, I don't have a need. I'm not a hunter-gatherer. I don't need to run after my prey. And Michelle doesn't make me run after her. She just stands there and lets me, tackle her. I guess that was too much information. But anyway. But I mean, like, I'm watching Tom Cruise running around. I'm like, man, I really wish that, because I used to race the kids, even when my kids, the older two, were in high school, and we'd go out in the driveway and we'd just sprint, and I could beat them. And that was pretty impressive. But man, my granddaughter could beat me now.
I used to be a very fast runner when I was a kid, like sprinting 0 to 100 to avoid getting my head kicked in type thing.
Right.
And
right.
it's like not so much now. Many times, many stories where I had to sprint, inventing free running and all that, scaling up trees and climbing up drain pipes and all sorts of true. Yeah, I used to be very fast at running.
I hear you. Well, I'm glad that neither of us have to run anymore.
I don't.
That's good, right?
I kind of wish I could though. I want to find a beach where nobody is at. And I could just get up on a Sunday morning and just be like a dog with a stick and just run. But I don't want to run in front of anybody because I'd look stupid.
I overthink it now, man. I used to feel like I was running like Tom Cruise. I have no idea what I looked like, but I was fast. Yeah. And the last time I was chasing after my granddaughter, it just felt awkward. I mean, like I'm overthinking. Foot down now, cycle, and I'm just like, this is not working, man. And so I just felt like I was like, I don't know, like the machine was broken.
See, in my brain, I run like Barry from The Flash.
Oh yeah, man.
But in reality, I suspect I run more
from the movie.
From
the movie.
You, man. Yeah, I run like that in my brain. However, in reality, I probably run more like Phoebe in that episode of Friends when she's jogging in the park. And that sort of stuff, spotting flies or whatever. And that's why I don't want to run in front of anybody else, because I might be told, oh, yes, you do run like Phoebe. You don't run like Barry.
Right.
Sorry.
Right.
Oh. But it's like I was watching or rewatching John Wick 4.
Yeah.
And it was like, just looking at Keanu Reeves, who's older than I am, just doing all the stuff. And I'm like, I'm embarrassing. I can't do any of that. I'm tired watching him do that. In the same way as Mr. Cruz doing all his crazy shenanigans. It's like, I wish I could do that.
Yeah. Well, that, and I wish that I could get paid to do that. You know, it's kind of like all that Wick training, you know, and he learned to shoot. He learned to do all those things, and he learned the Kung Fu and whatever. And I'm sure a lot of that came from, you know, his Matrix days. But still, man, getting paid to train, dude, getting paid to get into shape.
It's great. Whereas I'm sitting here going, I wish someone would pay me just to stare at that TV screen and then just describe the film I've watched.
Yep. Michelle, her new job, which she's had for, I guess, about a month, she is working for a network. And so she gets paid to watch their programming so that she knows what's on and the commercials and all this other stuff, so that when people call in and say, what is this? Then she can say, oh, well, you know, this is our network. And then when they say, oh, well, you know, why did, you know, John Wick 4 come on? Well, obviously because you sat on the remote, because that's not on our network. So,
no.
Yeah.
Hi, Michelle. Hire me, please. I'll be the UK department.
Ooh, hey, man. I'll promote that.
Transatlantic and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, man.
So have you got any other good video game movie? I think that's probably it for the list. I think, to be fair.
That was it, man. Mine was short, dude. I mean, and it was funny. I mean, you know, Witcher and Arcane are higher than a lot of the movies. I mean, like, I was impressed with Mario Brothers because I was expecting nothing. I mean, like, I sat there and watched that because Michelle and Vanel both wanted to watch it. And I'm like, all right, we'll watch it. And awesome, man. I mean, like, I had fun with it.
And then it made 1.3 billion, and then Barbie came out, and they were like, there's no way Barbie's going to beat Mario.
Yep.
Oh.
Yep.
And then Oppenheimer. Oh, that cut is 3-hour film. Half of it's black and white. It's not going to matter how much money did that make. So I think I love it when these films come out and just confuse all these smart asses that think they know how much everything's going to make. It's like, you're not perfect. You got it wrong.
Well, I mean, you think about, you know, they said that E.T. sucked.
Yeah.
And what else? There was a couple other movies that are cult classics. People didn't like Blade Runner at first. No. They were just this is...
I didn't as a kid. I was chatting about that on a podcast the other week. Rob and I did a podcast about post-apocalyptic movies. Mm-hmm. And so we were just roping everything in, going, well, technically Blade Runner's not post-apocalyptic, but it kind of feels like, so we just lumped everything in that we wanted to.
It is a dystopian future for sure, man. Yeah.
And I said, when I first saw that, which probably would have been around 83, I think. That was 1983, not when I was 83. And I wasn't a huge fan.
You're
because
good, man.
Exactly. Why, thank you.
Because you'd be over 100 now. Huh?
It's the soft light. And for me, Harrison Ford was indie, and he was Han Solo. And I'm like, Deckard's kind of miserable. And obviously now I love Blade Runner. And I've seen it many. I like Blade Runner 2049 as well. But I wasn't a huge fan of that because Blade Runner's not really for kids. It's an adult science fiction film. So obviously I watched
the latest cut is less rapey and more lovey. You know what I mean? Because that original cut, it's like, you're a replicant, so now I'm gonna force myself upon you. And, and it was kind of awkward, you know. And so the latest, I forget what Ridley called it, but like the
final cut.
They changed that, so that was good, man.
They did.
And it's, my kids say it's still slow, but at least it's not uncomfortable. So
yes, exactly. But Blade Runner is great.
Have you seen the Tetris movie that's on Apple TV Plus?
That's really good.
It was really good. Michelle, it's like at the end of the movie, I said that was really good, and she said I couldn't follow it. I'm like, what in the world? And I said, Tetris. And she said, I never played it. I don't even know what that game is.
Oh,
Boom.
what? Which planet did she come from? Is she a bit like Starman? But
I don't know.
Star
Maybe
Woman.
she's kind of like Neil Johnson and just like says, you know what? I don't have time for all this stuff. I don't have time for video games.
Well, Neil Johnson, will be like, have you watched the Barbie movie yet, Neil? And he's like, what movie? And I'm like, the Barbie movie's like, are they doing a Barbie movie?
Good, man. That was another one we saw. Yeah.
That was very, very good. But I'm surprised how many filmmakers don't watch movies, because obviously they're too busy making movies to sit on their rear ends like I am and just watch all the movies.
But it's like Michelle and I've said this more than 100 times on podcasts. Michelle and I view from different angles. I am always seeing behind the scenes, like, oh, well, that was a bad cut. There's some continuity issue there, or whatever. And Michelle just rolls with it. She tries to enjoy it. And so, but anyway, going back to her job, she was watching, anyway, maybe I shouldn't say this, but the network makes movies, right? And they're sappy love stories. And there were some continuity errors that were so absurd. She actually queued it up and let me see them.
Oh, no. Was it head in hands time for you? Were you like, oh, no?
Dude, I mean, it's like, sometimes it's just over directing. It's like, oh, your Jeep is stuck in the snow, so act perplexed, act angsty or whatever. And so this chick is outside the Jeep going, and then she walks around and grabs her front tire and goes, there's nothing wrong with her front tire. So she goes around to the back, grabs a shovel, and instead of trying to scoop out the track so she can back up, she scoops out beside the tire and then throws some kitty litter behind the tires and then tries to drive straight. And I'm just like, what were people thinking? I don't even understand. I can't comprehend this kind of filmmaking.
See, I'm more like Michelle. For the first viewing, I'll just watch it and watch the storyline, and then on the second viewing, I'm more like you. I'm like, well, that doesn't make sense. So I get sort of double the investigation thing.
It's movies. Like the morning show. If they had just stopped and argued in front of the light, I would have believed that soft box right in front of Jennifer Aniston's face to make her look younger.
Yep.
But no.
But yes, Tetris was. I didn't know, because I remember hearing that they were making a movie about Tetris, and you think, I think they did that with Pixels. I think they've kind of done that idea.
Right, yeah.
And then the movie came out, and everybody was talking about it. I'm thinking, that doesn't sound like the film that I thought they were going to make. What is this thing? And I watched it on Apple, and it's like clever. It's not really a video game movie. It's a movie about trying to buy or steal a video game.
Right.
Really
so
good.
It's not really Tetris the movie like Pixels. You are correct, but it is. I thought I'd throw that on the list because I didn't have many.
No, and it is a video. It's a movie based on a video game. It's just done a different way. It's a movie about how the game came to be. And if even half of that is true, that's just crazy, isn't it?
Yep. It was almost like Guy Ritchie light, with the way it just kept weaving and bobbing and all that stuff. And but yeah, I was pleasantly surprised, because you never know, man. You sit down, it's a commitment to watch a movie. And and two, I think networks, especially, see this a lot on Disney, like the Haunted Mansion, that of course has Rosario Dawson and Luke Wilson. I think that's the Wilson brother. But anyway, so you've got Loki represented, and you've got Ahsoka. And I can't remember, a couple of the other actors too, have been on Disney. So it's almost like the old studio deal where it's like, okay, you got a 3-picture deal. You're with us now, right? And so sometimes I feel like, okay, they did this movie just to get you to watch the next Spider-Man or whatever. And it's not, it's just, hey, we have an extra $100,000. Let's do something, right? So anyway.
Yeah, they should split the 100. Split the 100,000. Give you half. Give me half.
Yes.
Then we'll both be happy. That's pretty much all they need to do.
I remember when somebody was talking about, like, to make it into the Sundance Film Festival, you have to be an independent filmmaker. You have to have a low budget of $1.3 million. I'm just like, what? Wait a minute, you lost me there, dude. You know how many movies I can make for $1.3 million?
Yeah. I finally got around to watching Sound of Freedom. Don't know if you've seen that one.
No, is that Will Smith?
No, this is Jim Caviezel. The child
yes,
trafficking one that.
Yeah, man. Was it good?
As a film, yes. It was. People are trying to politicize it more than they should. Just watch it as a film. If you watch it as a thriller, it's fine. The first half, but the second half, it's a very grim subject matter because it's to do with kids being abducted into sex trafficking and stuff. Visually, it's not like it's shot in a way where it's there's lots of closed doors when the child goes in, and then you see the closed door. So it's not not a horror film, but it is horrific. But it was interesting. It was good.
How did Caviezel do, man? Because I saw how they do. Like an extended scene to try to, like instead of a trailer, and he just seemed like kind of lifeless. And
pretty much.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. He was fine. He was just like, every other. Do you know when you watch movies and there's like FBI agents in it, and at the end of the film, somebody's like, "How were the FBI agents?" You're like, I guess they were fine. None stood out as being terrible. So
right.
But it's
how were those stormtroopers, right?
They were fine. Which one? He was fine, but it's the kid actors that are really, really good because there's young kids in it, and I can't imagine. And maybe this is something you could sort of go, this is how I would do it if I was directing this sort of film. But you've got kids in a film which is super dark subject matter.
Yeah.
You can't really sit a 6-year-old down and go, so this is what happens to your character.
Right.
But these kids were so convincing, and they were spot on. They were really good at what they did, and they've done a few roles here and there. But it's like, how on earth do you get a kid to go, right, you're going to be an abuse victim? You can't do that because you could potentially traumatize these kids for the rest of their life.
Yeah, what's like Schindler's List? Okay, you're this little girl dressed in a red coat. You're going to be walking past all this death and all this stuff, and I wonder if there were alternate lines of dialogue, kind of like they let David Prowse think that he was going to continue to be Darth Vader. They didn't give the whole script out, and so it's like that it's like Robot Chicken, where Anakin is killing all the younglings, but in his head he's just chopping off all the tops of the flowers. Have you ever seen that?
Yeah. Well, we were Annette and I were watching Evil Dead Rise. Which is
how was that?
Oh, it's amazing. Really? I've seen it twice this year. It's my favorite film of the year.
Wow, man, I'll have to check it out.
Because one night Annette watches like loads of these British TV programs, so she's like 4 episodes into the show that I'm going to watch at some point. So I'm like, well, I don't want to watch what you're watching because you're ahead of where I am. So I'll go upstairs and I'll just watch a film. And I was in the mood to watch something that wasn't part of a huge franchise, even though technically it is. It's a, sort of a standalone film as well. I want to watch something that's like 90 minutes. It came out this year just so I could tick it off the list. And Evil Dead Rise was there. I'm like, oh, watch that. Not a wise move watching at 11 o'clock at night. It's horrific in a horror way. It's amazing. So intense. And so probably 2-3 weeks later, I said to Annette, I said, seriously, you've got to watch this Evil Dead Rise. Yeah. Absolutely amazing. So we sat down and we put it on and the lights were out and all this sort of stuff. And there's a little girl in it. And there's lots of scenes where she's in peril and Annette's watching this thing going, this is horrific for this little girl. How would they film stuff like that? I said, well, it's kind of like Close Encounters of the Third Kind when Spielberg's there in a monkey suit and the kid's like, it's kind of like that. She's like, but still, this looks pretty traumatic for this kid. I'm like, well, it's just camera angles and editing and all that sort of stuff. And then it cuts to scenes where this poor little girl who looks about 7 is just covered in blood and guts and things. I'm like, I don't even know how you'd persuade a child to do that. So my whole argument went pretty much out the window.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure it's like, okay, $50,000 and give us your child for 3 weeks. And so I think that's probably
it'll buy therapy. It'll pay for the therapy lessons. But I would highly recommend Evil Dead Rise.
I have seen it's on Jake put it on Vudu, and I think it's on Max and a couple other things. So I've seen that pop up over and over and over, and I figured it wouldn't be worth anything.
No,
but
it's
I'll
really
check
good.
that out.
You will never look at a drone in the same way again. And once you see the film, you'll be like, oh yeah, that's what he meant.
Right. Okay.
But it is, yeah, it's very intense. It's very violent.
Yeah.
It's short, but it's amazing.
Yeah.
What's the best film you think you've seen so far this year? Which one is currently in the running?
You know, I mean, I hate to say it, but it's probably the Mission Impossible. Just the production value was so high, and my dog needs to go out, so he's
That's
gonna
fine.
get loud in about 5 minutes.
We will wrap up with the mighty Tom Cruise.
Because he's a talker, man. So he'll anyway. If you give him time, then he'll join the podcast. But probably that. I was trying to think of any others that I thought were just exceptional. And I probably have to go back and look in Voodoo and see what what I purchased. But probably that on the action thriller, and Guardians 3 on the just make me laugh and feel good. So those are probably my two favorites of the year. But yeah, I guess it's about time to do favorite of the year, right?
It
as far
is
as like top 5.
They'll be like, well, I've already got a top 10, which I'll go through at the end of the year on another episode. But yeah, it's getting towards that time when we look at our lists and we piece things together and we go,
Yeah. It's funny, man, because we've hit like a cold spell. So yesterday morning and this morning, we started in the upper 20s. And I was like, man. So I looked at my brother-in-law in Utah, and he's like almost 30 degrees. I'm like, wow. And then I flip it over because I've got all these different destinations programmed into my iPhone. And I'm like, let's see what Stuart has. Oh, man, like 50s at night. So anyway, yeah.
Cold where I am. But I will let you go take dog for walkies because you know the dog be the boss.
Well, and he's got he's like a little. If he was nearby, I'd pick him up. But he's a Foutz.
Oh, I saw him. Yeah, I saw him he was sticking his head over the couch a few minutes ago, the sofa. So he's officially made a cameo.
Yeah, this Lily is always game
hey Lily
to sit on my lap. Yeah, but Bogey is a one-eyed dog, and he's part Chihuahua, so he's got this little bitty bladder. Oh, come here, bud. Come here, buddy. Oh, come here.
Oh,
come here.
Oh, there you go. Dog cameo.
There you go. Oop.
Oh.
So, yep, he's pretty old, and but he's got such a little bladder, so he's just like, oh, okay, sorry, man. You know.
Yeah, he's like, I need to go out right now.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, and, I will let you go do your dog walking duties.
This was fun, man.
Do keep me updated on Waxing Cinematic. So if there is a streaming link, let me know and I'll try and make it into the audience.
Oh, dude, that would be awesome, man. Yeah.
Definitely. Okay. All right.
Sounds awesome, dude.
And thanks for this. I always enjoy having a catch up with you.
Yeah, man. Pleasure. Dude, I'm always like, no matter what day I've had, once I spend some time with you, then you've made my day. So this has been fun.
Fantastic. Yeah, you take care, John, and enjoy the dog walking.
Thanks, dude. See you later.
See you later. Bye.